Hello, I'm Jim Demon with Clark County Close-Up. Thank you so much for meeting with us.
Good morning, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Well, let's kind of start with some quick background information.
Sure.
First, when was the main jail built?
Main jail was built and opened in June of 1984.
Okay, and what was the jail capacity back when it was built?
306 beds.
And what is the jail bed capacity today?
593.
Oh my goodness, wow, okay.
We've had quite a few.
Okay, what's the average inmate population for 2016?
In the first quarter is 738.
738.
And that's between our main jail and our jail work center down on the river.
Okay, so that's why it's bigger than the...
Correct.
Okay, and how long is the average detention period?
Most people stay an average of about 18 days.
18 days, okay. So the Clark County Jail was in the news late this spring when an inmate posed as another inmate to escape. That inmate was eventually captured. What steps have you taken to ensure this type of escape doesn't happen again?
Sure. Early in 2015, we had identified our past practice of using physical identifiers along with personal information that only the inmate would know, and we would randomly ask questions and then check their height, weight, things like that. We identified that as maybe needing to be updated. So we asked for a fingerprint identification system that would be interfaced with our computer. We were literally weeks away from that, the implementation of those that hardware and software, when this inmate he didn't know we were doing it and switched identities and made himself look like the other inmate, memorized some information, and was able to escape.
So from now on, they have to use a fingerprint.
When a person comes in the door, they're immediately, certain prints are captured, stored in our local computer database, and combined with physical identifiers just the same, and a wristband, we compare all that information for a positive identity on their way out.
Okay. When we last spoke back in 2013, Corrections was in the process of making several improvements to reduce the number of inmate suicides and suicide attempts. Can you detail some of the improvements that have taken place since 2013?
Sure. There are some crossbar supports in the windows, and we've welded all those shut so people can't use them to anchor off of. We've replaced all the door handles in all the cells, medium security cells, with suicide-resistant door handles. Someone couldn't tie off on it. We've replaced all of the shower heads with smaller nozzles so that there's no place to successfully tie off. And then we've recessed all of the sprinkler heads, our fire suppression system, so there's no exposed pipes or sprinkler heads inside the cells. And last, we remodeled our living unit A1 to a suicide watch area with molded bunks, repainted, and suicide-resistant furniture, so that the people are more safe if they're contemplating hurting themselves.
Okay. Now, there are some who have very little sympathy for people serving time in jail. Why is it important to keep inmates safe?
Well, first, it's a moral obligation to keep people safe. And second, it's a financial obligation. When someone dies in custody, there's a potential for litigation. And we would much rather use those scarce taxpayer dollars on jail operations or another public safety service rather than paying them out in a potential settlement as a result of litigation.
Okay. Even with all the improvements, 3 inmates died from suicides this year. In a press release regarding one of the deaths, you asked inmates and family members to notify jail staff if inmates discuss any kind of suicide plan. I can understand why inmates might be hesitant to report, but why are family members hesitate to report?
They don't take them seriously.
Okay.
They hear, maybe they've been exposed to years of suicide threats or manipulation as a result of chemical dependency or other issues that land people in the jail. And they just don't take it seriously, as seriously as we take it. And the message is that people need to take suicide threats seriously. And we have set up a hotline for the jail, and that's 360-397-2207, answered 24 hours a day. And if a person is concerned about the safety of a loved one in the jail and that loved one is contemplating hurting themselves, call that number, 360-397-2207. 397-2207, and we do take it seriously, and we'll make sure that person gets the help they need.
So what happens to an inmate if someone reports, just so family members
Sure.
understand?
We immediately go to that cell area or living unit. We move them out. We move them to an area where we can more closely watch them. We do take a lot of their personal items so they can't hurt themselves, and we immediately get them in to see a mental health counselor to make sure that they get the help they need. And then there's follow-up sessions to help them cope with whatever challenges they're having and make sure that they're get out of that mindset of contemplating suicide.
Okay. The sheriff has requested additional funding for some new suicide prevention measures at the jail. How much is being requested?
About $833,000.
Okay. And how would that money be used?
Well, that's a good question. So I need to back up just a little bit. The sheriff doesn't have in the budget the resources for that kind of money to be spent. These are improvements to the building with bunks and some information systems. And the best way to look at it is we're the renters, and we're asking the landlords or the county board to improve the building for us. So we're going before the board through the budget process to ask for molded plastic bunks in our medium and maximum security areas, an electronic system that attaches to the inmate's hand to monitor their vital signs, so those at high risk, if they become in distress or their vital signs have problems, it immediately alerts our staff. And the third is a communication system through our TVs so that we can put out suicide prevention information and coping information for those coming to our jail.
Okay. All right. And you said that'll be part of the budget process?
Yes, it'll be going before, it has already been submitted to the county board of counselors. It's part of the biennial budget process, and we expect to hear back when they adopt the budget in December.
Now, I'm going to just throw in a question here,
Sure.
but it's got to be very stressful for someone to enter the jail system. How do you try to make it less stressful?
Sure. People, one moment they're out in the community, the next moment they're in the back of a patrol car, and they're coming down to a jail. And we're a large building with a lot of steel and doors that clank shut, and people, they're at a low point in their life. We have an orientation video that actually CVTV helped us produce that puts out information from the sheriff, from me, from our mental health counselors, and our medical unit that helps people understand that 51% of the people that come into the jail are released in the first 72 hours. And to start thinking about how they're going to re-enter the community, what steps they're going to take, and what they can expect to happen. So instead of sitting there in a cell not knowing what's going to happen and contemplating a permanent solution to a temporary situation, they're told, well, this is going to occur, this is going to occur, this is how you get help, and this is what you can expect. And that within 30 days, upwards of 90% of our people are released. But that release may be to another jail, the prison, or the community. And then we offer reentry services, drug, alcohol counseling, help finding a job, and getting clothing, resumes, email addresses through different community partners, so that people can start thinking about how they're going to be successful getting out of the jail versus contemplating hurting themselves in the jail.
Yeah, so you give them some hope.
Absolutely.
Right away when they come in. Okay.
So they can expect and make some plans. What's going to occur to them, and how to handle court. This is what you can expect.
Great. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
In 2015, a study began to look at the feasibility of modernizing and potentially expanding the main jail facility. What's the status of that study?
It's still in draft with the sheriff and the county manager. They're reviewing it, and they're preparing their comments so that we can release the report to the county board of counselors. Has
there been any preliminary findings that you can report?
Well, the one thing that surprised the staff, the team that was working on this, was that the building envelope, the main jail, and the structure support is in good shape. We expected after 35 years of high use, a lot like running your car at 80 miles or 70 miles an hour all the time, that you have a lot of wear and tear. And well, we've had a lot of wear and tear on that building in 35 years, and we expected to hear some pretty dismal things. Instead, there's some options out there for that main jail building, envelope, and structure that we'll be presenting to the county board and following up on very closely in the near future.
Okay, so people should stay tuned to that.
They should.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share with viewers regarding the corrections?
Yeah, I'd like to repeat again, if you are concerned, if you get a phone call, if you visit the jail and the person you're talking to is contemplating hurting themselves, if you're at the jail, immediately talk to one of the staff. We have a piece of paper you can fill out, or you can just stop one of the corrections deputies and say, or the cadets, hey, the person I just visited is contemplating suicide, and we will immediately take it seriously. If they're on the phone, or if you get a letter, dial that phone number, 360-397-2207, and we'll take steps to help that person out. And last, we have job openings.
Okay.
And if you're looking for a career in public safety, I've been there almost 33 years. It's been a great career. Get on the Clark County website, go to Human Resources, and look us up. We have jobs there, and we're hiring.
Okay. And so if people want to look for the job, the overall jail, let's give those numbers again for the jail as well as hotline. One more time.
The hotline, 360-397-2207.
And it's a 24/7.
24/7.
Hotline.
The phone will be answered.
Okay. And then for the county sheriff's office,
For jobs?
yes, 397-2211.
That's correct. And the county human resources is 360-397-2456.
Well, thank you very much for meeting with us.
Thanks, Jim, for having me.